Okie dokie, so I have sewn my bag together. You can guarantee every single bag I make is a different size. So I then get my tape measure, which I've now found, and I measure across the width and across the depth, and then I just get a piece of my laminated fabric and a piece of my insulation fabric. Now while I'm showing you that, this is the Insul-Bright I was telling you about. So this is an insulation wadding, and I use it all the time when I'm making my oven mitts, and it is lovely and light. So my next coolie bag will be made with this because I know that it'll just work just as well. And I use it for my heat-proof bowls that I have as well. So it's a very good versatile product. So it's called Insul-Bright. So if you want to use the wadding Insul-Bright, that's it there. Now once you've cut your base, you then put your right side to right side, and remember you've stitched around it so it's going to hold really nice. And you can, again, you can just leave your zip foot on, put your needle position to the left this time. Oh, I'm using all my needle positions. There's 11 needle positions on the new machines, so it's really good. Now you can't really peg this all the way around, or I suppose you could, because you have to stop and clip at the corners. All right, so because I'm going to be stopping and clipping at the corners, I really don't peg, I only peg the line I'm on. So what I actually do, here's my corner here, I start off with it up on a point, and I'm going to put my needle down and I'm going to clip the fabric I'm working with so it can open up to go around my corner. So I actually take my sew table off and I get my fabric, my needle, right in on that point to start. And I put my glasses on so I can actually see what I'm doing. So I've got left needle position. I'm doing about I suppose about a 1 centimetre seam. I'm going to go forwards, I'm going to reverse, and I'm actually going to clip my fabric so when I come to the end it's going to turn nicely. So I just clip that fabric. Now I just sew down. So use a mark on your machine. You've got all these wonderful marks on your machine. Use them. So you can see, I'll put that down so you can see how easy it's feeding through. Because inside these products, you know, they can be quite thick. So when you come to this corner, bring your needle down. Now, I better check. I've got my flange going away, so make sure you do them all the same or it won't be very good, and I'll put my seam away from me. So coming up to here, make sure my flange is going the same. Needle down and then clip your fabric. Oh, I've made it a little bit, I didn't measure my one. I told you to, but I didn't. Made it a little bit long. So turn it around. I'll have a little bit more fabric than I should have there, but that's okay because I can multitask and fix it. And then I sew down. So I'm now just making it a little bit smaller. It's the bottom of a bag. It's absolutely fine. And this time making sure your flange is going towards your bag. Keep it the same way. Needle down, clip your work. So I tell you to measure it, and did I measure mine? No. All good. Bring your next one around. So you see I don't even bother clipping it because it's just so much easier just to do this. But I do at this stage clip my last one so that I make sure that it works. So I do actually clip that last one before I sew the next piece. So if I go like that, I've actually clipped that to make sure that that's going to fit across there, because I might move it because I haven't, you know, I could, because it's me doing it and it could easily move. So I've clipped that one so the fabric moves, and I just stitch around. There are no stress to doing this at all. This fabric is so pliable and it's so wonderful to work with that you really don't need to worry. I'm going to clip this one before I get there. It makes it easier. Clipping into that corner. And the beauty about it is, if I want to, I can top stitch around it once I've clipped it all. Front to back, side to back. I'm just making sure I've got it all going the right way. there, and it's already clipped. And then the last one, see how lovely and flat it goes because I've clipped it. I go forward and reverse there and then sew down the last seam. So just make it fit into the base. You don't have to be stressed about the size. It's going to be what it's going to be. It is just a lunch bag. So when you get down to here, just reverse, and then I can use my scissor. The next thing I do is I check that it's all looking nice and flat, and then I trim. And you be very careful who you show it to because everybody will want one. Literally everybody will want one because they're just so handy. And especially if you've got family that are overseas, they might like the Kiwiana one. So we have 3 fabrics in this range at the moment. So we have this laminated fabric here, which is a really beautiful one with all the native trees and plants in New Zealand. And we have this lovely caravan fabric, and I've accented that with very bright lime green and bright orange. And then of course we have the Pawa one, which I'm using. So this bag here, this is a bag that we did maybe a year or so ago as a lunch bag, and we did it out of cotton fabric, but I've used, my sister's actually made this for me, used the laminated fabric and a piece of Velcro, and of course it's cotton inside, so it's a lovely little snack bag. All of these are cold water wash. They're very, very good. And the other thing that she's made, which I'll quickly show you, you can also buy Lamifix. Now Lamifix is a laminated plastic that you iron onto cotton fabric, but you can see it doesn't have the sheen. It goes a little bit cloudy. I feel it's really good for craft items but not so good for bags. So that's Lamifix versus the laminated fabric. That's those two. And then the other little snack bags that she makes, these are really, really good because a lot of the children aren't allowed to take plastics to school. The funny side of that is they wear plastic in their polar fleece tops, but anyway, we won't go there. So this is a cotton little bag, like a snack bag, bit of Velcro, and you can either put Parker nylon in the front, and there's no proof at all that there's anything wrong with Parker nylon, or you can line it with cotton, and this little bag, just no Velcro, folds over itself, and when the little ones fold it out, they can have their nuts or their snacks in there, and it becomes a bowl. So it's a really good little snack bag. So all of these are great snack bags. You will get the sizes and the pictures of these so you can make them in your email. Right, so now I've stitched my bag all together, right? And now I will show you how you do your lining. So here's my bag I'm actually making at the moment, and here's my lining. So I measured from here around to here and from here around to here to get the size rectangle for my lining. So I've sewn up my side seam, and what I need to do now is get my fabric, put my seams together like this, and I need to just clip it to hold it first. And this measurement I'm going to stitch across here is going to make the base of my bag so it fits into the base of this bag. Okay, so what you do is you just measure across here, and I'll do it in inches. It's 6.5 inches. So this across here needs to measure 6.5 inches when I stitch it, so it fits in my bag. And that's how easy it is to make a base of the bag. So I'm going to show you again. You get your bag end and you just open it out and you put your seams together like that. Put your clip on there to hold it. Make sure your seams are together. You can actually use pins in this one, I must admit. It's Parker nylon. Measure across your bag. That's 6.5 inches. Then measure across, let's move this. Then measure across here 6.5 inches, and you are going to stitch across there so your bag is going to fit in. Your lining is going to fit into your bag. You can draw it, but it's a little bit hard on black, so I'll just pin it. Alright, so I'm going to just put 3 pins in, and then I'm going to put it in my bag to check. Okay, so here's my bag. I'm going to pop it in here, and that's going to be where I'm going to stitch it, and I'm just going to double check that it's going to be the perfect size. Excellent. Okay, and that is how you make a base on a bag. Then you bring these together, and I'll just do the same. Lay it down, and I do them both at once. Lay this across here, and if you want to check you've got it nice and even, because obviously you will measure it really well and you'll probably draw a line, the next thing you can do is you can just check that that's 6.5 inches across there. Work in centimetres if you like, 6.5 inches, but also you can go from the point down 4.5 inches and 4.5 inches. Perfect. So you've got an extra measurement you can do by doing that, and then just draw a line or sew across your base, and you've made a base. So it's not hard to sew a basin. And then look, I'm going to leave my foot on again because I can, and I will just, I was going to put the foot down, but it does it automatically. I will just sew across there, and my base is made. So I'm going to do the same on both sides, and I have made a square base into a bag. So you really don't need bag patterns. You can make them up really easily. The triangle I'm actually sewing, the base of the bag will be determined by this measurement across here. So if I want a little narrow base in my bag, I would sew it up here. Okay, it's very clever, very easy and very, very clever. All right, so needle down. Oh, reverse. I nearly locked it off. And then sew down. So much fun. I love doing, I'm a bit of a bag lady. As you'll notice, I love making bags. I don't walk around town with bags all over me, but I am a bag lady. Now for strength, you can leave that fabric in, or you can cut it off. It makes no difference. This fabric doesn't fray. Makes absolutely no difference. Okay, up to you, depending on what fabric you're using. Then you just put your wrong sides together, and you've got a wonderful lining in your bag, and you are going to clip it. What have I done with all my clips? You're going to stitch around there. You're going to adjust it if it is too big or too small just by taking in your side seam, but it should be perfect if you've measured it, like me. I'm so good at measuring, aren't I? When things aren't really, really important about their sizing, honestly, I'm very relaxed when it comes to sewing. There is no reason to get stressed about something fitting or not fitting. If it's a lunch bag, it's actually fine. So I'm putting my needle position back to the right. So I do use my needle positions a lot when I'm sewing. I'm just going to hold this together before I bind it. And if you've ever worked with Parker nylon, it's very, very slippery. So keep keep holding it. Use those clips, they're actually amazing. They're just so handy. And so much quicker than pins. And then I'm going to show you how you shorten a zip and how to top stitch it into a bag, and you'll probably never do a bag another way because it's so foolproof and easy. Facing that way, I'm just making sure. I didn't think about it as I was sewing to make sure that my flange was facing the right way. Just thought about it now. I think I've automatically done it, but you never know. and then sew the last little piece. So you have to admit they're pretty quick, pretty easy to make. And then sew up to where you started. Okay, now what I'm just going to do quickly is I'm just going to neaten it. So I've done that all around, and I'm just going to get my scissors, and I'm just going to neaten it so that my edges are nice and even. Just tidy it up a little bit, because I want to sew my binding on now, so I want it nice and tidy. So you can sew your binding from the right side, top stitch on the wrong, or from the wrong side and top stitch from the right. It makes no difference. But by doing this, you are sewing the zip in last, which is wonderful, especially if your zip breaks. You can replace it really easily. So there it is, all tidy. And now I've got my 2.5 inch piece of binding. Oh, actually, that looks like it's wider, doesn't it? Oh, tape measure around my neck. No, it's 2.5. So I'm going to go like this and sew it on, but I do want to make a join in it. So this is the back of my bag, this is the front of my bag. I think I'll have the join in the center back. So I'm going to sew this way. I'm going to sew from the wrong side. So I'm just going to, first thing, I'm going to just put a pin in that top edge, because I'm just going to walk this around to start off with. Actually, I need a clip because a pin might damage my fabric. So I'm just going to walk this around. I can measure it actually. Yeah, no, I'm not going to measure it. Get real. I'm not going to measure it. Let's face it, I wouldn't do that at home. I would just walk my fabric around. Walk my fabric around. If I gave you exact measurements for this, you would get stressed, because it doesn't matter what size this finishes. So I have given you measurements, but don't be stressed about those measurements. You can actually, oh, there's some more. You can actually be quite relaxed. It's a lunch bag. You really don't need to stress about it. Okay, walk it around. And I'm not going to join it the way I would join a quilt. I'm just going to straight stitch join it, because it's a lunch bag. So I'm not going to stress about joining it. So these ones that are from online are just a little bit stiffer than the Clover ones, but do exactly the same job. And you get 10 for $4, and they're very, very good. So here's my join here. All I'm going to do is cut my seam allowance like that. No stress. And I'm just going to join right sides together. So I just take it, that one, and I join them together. So I'm not doing anything fancy at all, because I don't need to. It's just a coolie bag. Oh, I'm going to put on purple thread in a second actually. So just sew a seam, make sure you're happy with it. If it doesn't fit, sew it bigger, sew it smaller, really doesn't matter. Okay, so I'm just going to check it. Perfect. So now I'm going to cut my thread. I'm going to pull my thread from here. I'm going to put on purple thread to do my binding and to sew my zip in. So I've got my purple thread already. Thread it there. Thread it under the wire, give it a tug, and I will change my top thread, just so that I don't have black thread on my machine. So even if you're not going to make a coolie bag, you can take the little hints and tips that I've told you and apply it to other things. A flange is a wonderful little piece of fabric to know how to make. So with the flange, as you know, we just folded our wrong sides of fabric together. Well, a flange is very good across a bodice. It's also very good around the squares of a quilt. So if you've made a quilt and your points don't match, you can hide it with a flange. So there's always reasons to use a flange. Now I'm going to start from the back, and I'm going to put, guess what, my needle position to the left and do pretty much a 1/4 inch seam. I'm going to move that over to there. Right, so I'm just going to there. So I'm just going to sew this now. You could sew from the other side. You really don't need to, because you've got your clips to hold your work. You've got your wrong side of your fabric together. It's cotton fabric. It's very forgiving anyway. And you just can now sew right round in a circle. What could be easier? So you're not having to insert your zip or anything. Oops. Didn't clip that one very well, did I? Can you see I've taken my sew table off to make it nice and easy to work my bag around my free arm. So just get it around and then it sits nice and flat. Everything on your machine has a purpose, and it makes life easier. Okay, and come down here and then meet and reverse. I've got clips everywhere, thread clips. I hope I make you all feel better that I'm not the tidiest sewer out. I do it just to make you feel so much better. And we're just about at the end. And there you have your bag all done. And we're ready to top stitch our binding. So you simply roll your binding over and top stitch. Okay, so once again my video, I've had the message that my video is about to finish. So I will stitch this and we might just be good for timing again. All right, I'm getting the heads up. So I just roll this over, put your clips on. So simple. So one thing about these clips here, these purple ones, they're very stiff compared to the clover ones. Very, very stiff. Whereas the other ones, these ones from Chiang Mai, are very light, and so are the clover ones. So I've got actually clips from all around the world. How about that? Quite funny, really. And they're definitely not made in the same factory, I can tell you, because they're so different to work with. Now, so I've done that, and again I'm going to leave, so I'm not going to start at the front, I'll start at the back. Again, I am going to leave my zip foot on, and I'm just going to top stitch it. So I'm going to lengthen my stitch out now for top stitching. I'm going to lengthen it out to 3.35. And remember, I put down my pressure on my foot so that everything just glides nice and easy. Okay, so I'm just going to top stitch this now. I will go a bit slower so it's straight, seeing as this is the part you actually see. I don't worry when it's going to be on the inside. But as some of my ladies love me to sew crooked, I will try and sew straight for you. I sew straight when it matters, and that's what counts. One thing you do want to do, make sure that this doesn't roll back under. Okay, so I'm just pushing it under with my hand. And I should have put black in the bobbin because I'm top stitching and I'm going through it. So that's one thing I could have done, but hey, it's a lunch bag, it's absolutely fine. So just go nice and slowly and top stitch it on the edge. Isn't the zip foot really versatile? I think it's great. Really good foot. And go round and just go to where you started. Gosh, it's a long way round. It's quite a big bag when you start sewing. And you're nearly back to the beginning. And I've taken my lock off because I want to show you it later. I just want you all to know, yes, you can reverse that, but I'll show you the lock off shortly. And there you have your bag. Oh no, it's onto the purple, we didn't have to worry. So your bag is going to now look like that, and we're going to show you in a minute how you sew your zip in without having to insert it in your bag. So there you have your lunch bag. That's going to be so, so, so cute. All right, so there we go. So I will see you in a minute.